This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, and welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel today. And my goodness, yeah, what is this? Video number 4 already pounded out for the afternoon. Not a bad time to be killing time on Family Day long weekend. Yes, I am in Alberta. Yes, it is Family Day long weekend here. And let me tell you, well, it's been a fun, eventful weekend if you're an Oilers fan, despite not having any hockey games. And part of the eventfulness was maybe the waiver wire once again, a big name hitting it for the Oilers, James Neal. Oh yeah, that happened. And that has since resolved itself. However, today we find ourselves with a couple more names on the NHL waiver wire that we should really get to looking at here, because it could be quite the thing for the Oilers should they decide to take a stab at two guys currently in Canada right now. But before that, if you're new to the channel, what I want you to do is consider subscribing to stick around for tomorrow, because you know what, we don't normally have this season 4 or 5 days off between games, but here we find ourselves with Friday, Saturday, Sunday off before a Monday game after beating the Habs 3-0. The Oilers are rolling 6-7. I think it's a good time to join up and stay tuned for what's going to be a crazy rest of the season. I promise you, we've already gone off the deep end multiple times this season. So what am I talking? Waiver wires, all that fun stuff. Well, you know what? Do you like these names on the waiver wire? Do you like Alex Galchenyuk? Do you like Paul Byron? Do you like Par Lindholm? Do you like Danny DeKeyser? What about Gabriel Carlson? Those are the names on the waiver wire today. And yes, you can go back through the Dolynny TV archives. And yes, I was saying it would be a good idea on a low-risk minimum contract for the Oilers to go out and sign Alex Galchenyuk in the offseason prior. Well, now we find ourselves with Ottawa having done us that favor, and Ottawa getting no further ahead than anyone was behind with Alex Galchenyuk already to this point of his career. So a guy who, once again, yes, sure, Carolina's just putting him on waivers, A, hoping maybe he gets claimed, or B, for the taxi squad flexibility. But when it comes to a guy like Alex Galchenyuk, not Chiasson, we've talked enough about Chiasson, we don't need to talk more about him. But when it comes to Mr. Galchenyuk, simply is as simply does on this one. Let me see if I can get it. $1.05 million contract for Galchenyuk. So that, by the Oilers' standards of cap space, is still a pretty pricey contract. 1 goal in 8 games with the Ottawa Senators, a -6. And I saw on Twitter, realistically, the only reason some people think at this point Galchenyuk continues to get a chance in the NHL, he's found a way to stick around a lot longer than Nail Yakupov, let me tell you. But I imagine Galchenyuk may be a guy destined here in the next little while for the KHL, the way this is trending. Like I said, the only way he gets opportunities is he is a first-round pick, 3rd overall, way back in 2012. So that's kind of realistically all you need to know about my thoughts on Alex Galchenyuk. Is, you know what, it was a great idea just as a depth flyer piece. You know what, yeah, it made sense for the Oilers back then. However, guys, we're having a hard time putting Joakim Nygard in the lineup. We're having a hard time putting James Neal in the lineup. We're having a hard time putting almost everyone in the lineup. Don't forget Tyler Ennis was having a hard time before him and Jujhar Khaira and Josh Archibald decided, hey, we're aligned, let's do this. Oh my goodness. And just have gone out there and dominated, like that mentality that we've seen the Cahoon, Draisaitl, Yamamoto line go at, is if we go hard on the forecheck, good things can happen. And they have, and we hope that continues. But you get where I'm going here, is the fact that there isn't really a room in the lineup for Alex Galchenyuk. And, okay, well, alright, we don't need to discuss Danny DeKeyser because I'm not a fan of the quarantine stuff. I'm not a fan of Gabriel Carlson, Par Lindholm. I could care less kind of deal in terms of upgrading the Oilers, if that is what my thoughts are on Galchenyuk. So we turn ourselves to the last man remaining on the waiver wire, and that is Paul Byron, $3.4 million more expensive than Zach Kassian. For the next 3 years, may I add. He's 31 years old currently. A former draft pick of the Buffalo Sabres. Jeez, Zach Kassian? Huh? Also a one-time member of the Montreal Canadiens, if you don't know that folklore right there for the Oilers. Anyway, Paul Byron, a guy who has 89 career goals, 99 career assists, 188 career points, and 462 games played. A career high 43 points back in 16-17 with the Montreal Canadiens. And a guy, even as recently as 18-19, if he would have hit the waiver wire, would have made a ton of sense to pick up for the Oilers. However, now as it currently stands, some seasons, I'm not sure what the story is here. I guess I could have researched it, but I'll go based off a stat sheet. 56 games in 18-19, 29 in 19-20, which the season was 70-71 games, and 14 games so far this year for the Montreal Canadiens, is the fact that Paul Byron is not a guy that looks to be playing much of a full season anymore for the past 3 years. So that, to a degree, is an alarming idea if you start talking about claiming a guy off the waiver wire. And secondarily to that, at $3.4 million, as much as I'd love to say Paul Byron is an upgrade on a Joakim Nygard, or an upgrade on a Tyler Ennis, or an upgrade here or there, is the pure facts so far this season is Paul Byron is not an upgrade. Paul Byron is a huge sunk cost, I think is the correct term, right? You're sinking a big investment into him, and you've got that in a Joakim Nygard. You've already got that in a James Neal. You've got that in a Tyler Ennis in terms of what a Paul Byron brings to the table for an Oilers squad. I know Byron's got the speed. He's a good PKer and stuff like that, but like that's the thing. The Oilers somehow magically last year and this year have guys capable of playing roles, capable of bringing more than one element to the hockey game now. And that's a crazy concept that I know it's hard for a lot of people to understand, but it's one of those that we're going to have to get very comfy with here, as I really don't think there's much you can do without doing big trade moves to upgrade the Oilers on the waiver wire. Simply because our day has passed on that, right? The days of Valentin Zykov have passed. The days of guys like that coming to the Oilers, Ty Ratty coming to the Oilers and putting in a big impact are long gone. That is not who the Oilers are anymore. That's not what the Oilers need anymore. And that's the crazy part, because the defense has figured itself out in terms of the next wave coming up. Darnell Nurse taking number one. Tyson Barrie being the Tyson Barrie from Colorado that everyone loved. I don't know. How about the goaltending the past 3 games, getting the job done? And suddenly, yeah, you know what? Things aren't as near ugly as they seemed to be earlier in the season or in the past 5-6 years, excluding 16-17. So you see how this is all rolling, is those days are behind us by the looks of it. And you know what? That is a welcome sign to me. So Paul Byron, no. Galchenyuk, no. All the other crumb on the waiver wire, no. Good enough. I'm good here. You know what? Yeah. The time has passed. That's good. That's solid. And we move forward to seeing what this Oilers team brings on Monday evening. I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon for a 4th time, maybe. My goodness, I can't even stand to listen to myself that much. My apologies for you having to listen to me that much. I'm up on out of here.